Hello guys, my name is Pios Katsis and this is part 3 of the Elastic series. In part 1 we talked about why we want to use Elastic, we take a look at our scenario and we saw how to connect to Elastic by configuring our Elastic client. In part 2 we saw how to create and initialize our index. And now in the part 3 we're going to apply our searches. But first of all, let me fix a mistake from part 2. Let me make this bigger. Okay, and there we need to add the initialize index service since we have an interface. So let's go and implement our search now. I'm going to go to the Elastic folder and I'll create a new class and I will call that search service. And first of all, we need to inject the Elastic client. So private read-only Elastic client. Let's call that Elastic client. And we're going to have one method and it will be an async one and we will call that search async. So public async task of, now our documents might be of type Elasticsearch, but what we're going to get back from our search would be an iSearch response. And that comes from the Nest library previously installed, and it will be an iSearch response of our Elasticsearch object. So search async, and we will have some search parameters and a cancellation token. So let's go and create our parameters. Let's call that search parameters like that, and let's make that a record. And we will have an nullable string for the search text, and the same for the genre. So genre, and we will also need our skip and our take, so int skip and int take, and we're good to go. Let's go back to our search service and let's have those parameters. So search parameters and the cancellation token, since Elasticsearch supports cancellation tokens. Okay, and now let's implement our search. We will have a result, and then we need to say await Elastic client and search async, and we need to specify in what we are searching for, and we are searching for in the Elastic songs. So Elastic song. Okay, and now we will have our query. So x.query, and now we'll use a bool function that allow us to match documents by matching multiple queries, and that's what we want, since we want to search in 3 fields, so we're going to have 3 queries. So let's say q arrow q.bool, and now inside the bool we are going to use the should clause, and we will use a should because it's not mandatory to match each of the 3 fields. We want to include the document even if we match one of those. So should be, and then should, and then we will use our match query. So match, and let's see what we need to match. We need to match a field, and the first one will be the song title. So f dot title, and we need to match it based on our search text. So let's say query parameters dot search text. And now we'll also use some fuzziness, and we'll set that to auto, and that will return a document even if we don't have an exact match, and that's helpful in case that the user makes a typo or a spelling mistake, and it also provides more flexibility. And now that was it for searching in the title, and now we need to do the same for the album title and the artist name. Or I can remove that match, and instead of writing the same query 3 times, I can use the multi-match query that allow us to search based on the same input in multiple fields. So let's do that. Let's say multi-match. And now we need to specify the fields. So fields, and the first field would be the title. So title, and let's do the same for the album title and the artist name. So let me copy that, paste it 2 more times, and let's change the title to the album title and that title to the artist name. And we want to search based on the search text. So query, we need to pass the parameters dot search text, and finally set again the fuzziness to auto. Now, since we use the should clause, we need to be explicit that we want at least one of those 3 queries to has a match in order to include a document, and we're going to do that by setting the minimum should match to 1. And finally, for our filter, and that will be the genre, if you remember. Oh, and I miss a parenthesis in there. Okay, let's fix that. So let's now say filter, and we need to search in a term, because if you remember, our genre in the Elastic song was as keyword, since we don't want Elastic to analyze the genre, because we want it to behave as a filter and have an exact match. So f.term, and that term will be the genre, and let's pass the parameters.genre in there. And now we need to sort our document, so let's close those parentheses and let's say sort, and we need to sort in a descending order by the score, because as you remember, in each match we have, we get a score, so we need to show the more relevant results higher. So s.descending, and then we need to pass the enum sort special field dot score. And finally, let's apply our skip and take. So dot skip, and we need to pass the skip, so parameters dot skip, and dot take, parameters dot take. Okay, and now we need to return the result. Now note that based on this implementation, in order for the filter to work, we need to have a search text that's not null or empty present. One way to fix that is, for example, say up here that if the search text is null or empty, just return a query based on the filter only, but let's leave it as it is for now for simplicity. Oh, and also pass the cancellation token in the Elastic client. Okay, and now let's go back to our controller to retrieve these documents, but first let's go to our mappers and create some more of them. First of all, let's create one to map the search song request to the search parameters. Let me copy that and paste it. Now let's create another one to map the Elastic song to a song response. Okay, and finally the search songs response mapper that will have all the songs, a page number, page size, a total count, and the total pages. So let's now head to our controller and let's inject the search service, but first let's add it to our services. So builder.services.add scoped iSearch service, and we need to create the interface first. I'm sorry, let's do that real fast. So iSearch service, and the implementation is the search service. Let's go back to our controller now and inject that. So private read-only I search service. And now in our endpoint, let's first get the parameters. So var parameters equals with request.toSearch parameters. Let's take the songs response. So var songs response equals with await search service dot search async, and we need to pass the parameters and the cancellation token. And now, since this is an iSearch response of Elastic Song, in order to retrieve the songs, all we need to do is say var songs equals with song response dot documents, and we will also need the count. So var count equals with song response dot total, and that would be the total match that we have in our documents, not the one that we take using the take method. So we don't need to do two calls to Elastic, one for the count and one for the documents. And now let's create our response. So var response equals with new search song response. And now in the songs we need to map them into song response. So let's say select x.to song response. Now we also need the page number. So request.page number, the page size, the count, and now to calculate the total pages. So that would be an int, and we will use the math.ceiling method, and there we'll have the count divided by the page size as a double. So request.page size, and we need to close this parenthesis over here and remove that from here, and let's finally return the response. So return awk and the response, and that would work. But in our example that we want to test our search, I think it would be better if we included in each song the score that it had in the searching process. So let me go off the camera and create that and explain that after. And we are all done. I created another endpoint with the route include score in the end, and it's pretty much the same process, but instead of taking the documents, we will use the hits property of the song response. So that would be an I hit of Elastic songs, and then where to map it to a song response with score. Since it's an I hit, the song response is inside the source property of the I hit. So in here I accept an I hit of Elastic song, and for the ID I say song.source.id, and that's a song response with score. So if I go there, it's the same as the song response, but it also includes a double for the score. And the search songs include scores response is the same as the search song response, but instead of a collection of song response, I have a collection of song response with score. So now let's start Elastic in Docker and let's test our code. Now, if you remember in our initialize index service, no, it was in the dependency injection class, I have as comments the three basic commands that you need to run to get the bare minimum of Elastic. Now the first is for creating an Elastic network, the second one is for pulling the Docker image, and I have run those, so I don't need to do that again, but I will run the final one to run the Elasticsearch. So let me copy that, go to terminal and run that, and let's wait for a few seconds. And if you remembered from a previous video, I told you that when we run that command, we will get the password that we need in order to connect to our Elastic server. So let's copy this password over here, and let's go and put that in our app settings. The default username would be Elastic. So now with everything in order, let's debug that. And let's also open Postman. I have already request for the simple search without the score, so if we do that, as we can see, we will have 5,119 songs, and let's go now to the one with the score, and let's put in the search text, let's say Iron Maiden, and let's hit send. And first we get a song with a score of 12 point something because it has a match in the title and in the artist name, since the title is Iron Maiden as the artist name. And if we get to more results, then it has a match in the Iron Man 2 by AC/DC with a score of 6 point something. And as you can see, even if we have more songs with the Iron Maiden in the artist name, for example, I can go to page, let's say 10, and then we get other songs from the Iron Maiden. But for some reason, Elastic thought that the songs Guns for Hire from an album title called Iron Man 2 was a better match, and that's something that we can fix. It's kind of fine-tuning, but now it's a good time to go and use the boost that we previously talked about. And in our case, let's say that we want to boost the artist name. So let's close that, let's go back to our search service, and in the artist name, let's say that we want to give a boost of, let's say 3, and let's try that again. So let's hit that endpoint again, and now as you can see, all the results in the first page are from Iron Maiden, and with a higher score than they previously had. And we can modify that even longer. Let's say that we also need to give a boost of 2 in the title, and let's hit that endpoint again. Okay, now we get back the song called Iron Maiden by Iron Maiden with a score of 24. And again, all the results in the first page are from Iron Maiden. So again, that's something you need to figure out. And we have a total count of 491 songs. And let's try specify the genre as well. We will say rock, since our database has all the Iron Maiden albums as rock, although it's metal, but let's stick with that for now. And now as you can see, we have 470, a difference of 21 songs. Let's try to find some of them. I could go to the genres controller, hit that, and we'll get back all the genres in the database, but we don't have albums and songs for each of each genre in our database, since it's kind of small with only 5,000 I think tracks. So let's say metal, if we will have anyone, and one of their matches that wasn't in the rock genre was in the metal genre, and that's the Iron Man by Black Sabbath. So as you can see, the match was in the Iron. Let's, I don't know, try pop, and we have some pop songs in there as well. We have the Garden from Rush, probably it matched the N in the end of Maiden and Garden. But anyway, you get the point how flexible can Elastic be, and how to prioritize and include or exclude results based on your needs. So I think that was good enough, at least for now, for the Elastic series. I didn't include some things. For example, if you had a collection of something, let's say different genres in a song, how we can search in them. Now our Elastic song does include a collection of something, so if you want me to do another video about that, let me know in the comments below. Also, if you like this video and this series in general, please like and subscribe. Thank you for watching and have a nice one.